this year. Now, the NFL is adding one extra team per conference to the playoffs. So we usually have the 4 division winners and 2 wild cards. We will have 4 division winners and 3 wild cards per conference. And I'm a fan of this. I think it's going to actually be good for the game, and here's why. Because now, with adding the extra wild card, you have, obviously, just by default, more teams and more fan bases in the playoff race. Right? You open up a little bit. All of a sudden now, if you're a Steelers fan, well, your season may have ended 2 weeks ago, but now guess what? Despite losing Ben Roethlisberger, despite having Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph alternate playing good and bad, you are still in the playoffs. Your final 2 games mean something. If you're the Rams, you just went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. You have all the momentum coming after a young team, a young head coach. Obviously, they had a tough year. Todd Gurley was hurt, but guess what? They still were in the race, and the NFC was a very, very tough conference. And you look at the NFC West last year with the Seahawks and the 49ers, and even the Cardinals, who were a very spunky team. They were not a pushover by any means. The Rams missed the playoffs, but they were a good team. They had a tough schedule, a tough division. They kind of lost out on that hard luck. So now all of a sudden, you have the Rams, not even in the playoffs, but just in the playoff hunt. You have teams like the Steelers and other teams. So now all of a sudden, you add 1, 2, maybe even 3 teams, depending on the year and the race and the conference, that now are all of a sudden in the playoff race because they are not as far out as they would be if there's only 2 wild cards. So obviously, what does that do? That boosts attendance. If you're a team, I'm a fan of the Colts, right? They had a good start to the year and then kind of sagged off towards the end. They're still in the playoff race. They finished 7-9, but the last 2 or 3 games, they really needed a miracle to happen. And guess what? Now, all of a sudden, if you had an extra playoff game, obviously those games are still important. You still make the playoffs. And what does that do? That helps boost attendance, right? Because even though there's 8 games, fans are not going to go to watch meaningless football. You look at Week 17, teams that are out of it, fans aren't clamoring to go. So you help boost attendance. Viewership obviously goes increasing because now, again, you're seeing meaningful football late in December. And it doesn't matter, teams are in it. So if you're in it, boom, viewership goes up. And team apparel too. You think about it, this is a money grab, right? This is what it is. You have to think from the NFL's perspective. They're not doing this for the entertainment value. They're not doing this so more fans can kind of get a taste of the playoffs, and fans of, let's say, the Bills or the Rams that don't go to the playoffs often now get more shots at going to the playoffs. Teams like the Jets, obviously being here in New York, Jets fans live and die every year wanting to go to the playoffs. Obviously, you make it easier for them to go to the playoffs, so now they're more engaged and they have more hope and more excitement going into the season. But that's not their goal, and that's not why they did this. They want money. So attendance, viewership, and merchandise, all 3 of those avenues are going to go up because more teams and more fan bases are into the playoffs because it's harder to get eliminated. So all 3 of those go up. So I think that's why, one thing, it's a good thing. So from the bottom of the playoff race, again, it includes more teams and fan bases, so that's good. But you also look at what they did at the top of the playoff race as well. So in adding the extra team, they also removed 1 bye. So now only the top team in each conference gets a bye. Obviously, we're used to the old format. The top 2 teams get a bye, and the 2 division winners host the 2 wildcard teams. Well, now when you have 7, obviously you have an odd man out. One team from each conference gets a bye. So what does that do now? Now that forces teams at the top who have the division locked up, who maybe think they have at least a bye locked up or a chance at a bye. That forces a lot of these teams at the top who've had a really good year, maybe are thinking about resting teams in Week 17 or now will be Week 18 in a few weeks. Well, guess what? They can't do that anymore because now that bye is, all the more important to get. Because now you can have a 13-3 season, win your division pretty easily, have a great year, and next thing you know, you're playing on Wild Card Weekend. You never see 13-3 teams playing on Wild Card Weekend. But guess what? The Ravens went 14-2 this year. They had a great year. If you have a 13-3 year, you are more incentivized and more motivated to finish strong because you want that bye. You don't want to play on Wild Card Weekend. You want to give your teams a rest. Think about it. You're playing an extra game without a bye. And now you take away 1 bye in the playoffs, you're going to be playing more and more football than you ever have. And what did I say in the open talking about 17 games? 17 games and the Super Bowl and the playoffs is all about basically health. If you are the healthiest, more times than not, you will win the game. And how does that help? By having a bye in the playoffs, you rest your players, give them some extra rest, and again, have them fresh heading into that second round. So now teams at not only the bottom are more into it and have more meaningful games, teams at the top now can cruise in their Week 16 and Week 17 games, despite, again, having the division locked up, probably looking and setting their sights towards the playoffs. They still have to play every game hard because they need that bye, and they can't sit basically on their laurels because you see now how important that bye is to teams. And finally, at least like for me, you look at with adding more teams, it's not watering down the playoffs. Because in the NFL, similar to baseball, once you get in, any team can really win. We just saw last year the number 6 seed, the Tennessee Titans, beat the New England Patriots, the best dynasty we've ever seen in the NFL, still intact with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. They beat them in Foxborough, something that's impossible to do, hasn't happened in 10 years. So they go in there, and then they beat the number 1 seed, the Baltimore Ravens, who had the best regular season of any team this year. A 6 seed. So adding extra teams to the playoffs is not basically just inviting them to get killed by whoever they play in the first round. These teams have a legitimate chance to win. So 2010, we've seen 4 wild card teams, 3 of them being the 6th, so the last and final team in the playoffs, make it to at least the conference championship game. Go back, the 6 seed Packers won Super Bowl 45. So it's not like it's impossible where it's the NBA, where you never had a 7 or 8 seed win an NBA Finals, and whoever gets in is just an invitation to get swept in the first round by the best team in that conference. These teams have legitimate chances to win and pull upsets. And again, look no further than just last year. The Titans had a lead in Arrowhead in the second quarter going into halftime against the Chiefs. They're 1/2 away from going to the Super Bowl as a 6 seed after beating the best dynasty that's impossible to beat at home and beating the team that had the MVP at quarterback in Lamar Jackson and the best regular season of any team in the NFL this year. So it's possible. This is not an invitation to get flattened. This is not an invitation to get killed. This is not just a chance to hang a banner and say we made the playoffs, rah, rah, rah. These teams have legitimate chances to win a game, win 2 games, win 3 games, hell, even get hot and go to the Super Bowl. And again, we saw the Packers in Super Bowl 45 win as a 6 seed. So you put that all together, it adds up extra interest and organic interest, which is important. It adds organic interest to those teams at the bottom who are racing to get in. It adds organic interest for the fans who are, let's say they're the best or the second best team in each conference because now they have to get that bye, all important. And it adds extra buzz, and it gives now Wildcard Weekend a little bit extra flair than it normally has. So I'm all in favor of it. I think it's a great idea. I think it will be great at the end. So what are your thoughts? I'd love to get your thoughts. Are you a fan of expanding the playoffs? Does it water it down? Because people could think it does. Right? You saw baseball. Baseball threw out a possibility of adding 4 wild card teams per playoff and basically adopt the same sort of playoff model as the NFL. They would also have 7 teams. The top team would get a bye. So again, you also increase playoffs and you increase the importance of the bottom and the top in MLB. Their reaction wasn't great. A lot of people pushed back on the MLB playoff proposal that was thrown out there a few months ago. I think the NFL is good. I like both, actually, but I think the NFL will work great, and I think more than ever, this is a legitimate chance to have more interesting, great football to watch and give these teams chances that, if you're in a tough year, a tough division, your season's not over, even if you're a good team. Number 3, the Patriots, right? I mean, obviously, you know the pros. There's a lot of familiarity, a lot of continuity. Their defense was elite last year. The division, is easier. It's getting harder, don't get me wrong, but it's easier than the AFC West, which is the first 2 teams I've listed here. Right? I mean, the Dolphins they're a tough group. They're a spunky group. I put them in the same light as the Cardinals, where they're no rollover, they're no pushover. You're not going to go in there and automatically win. Brian Flores has been a great coach, and he's done a great job with that team. The Jets, you think if they are blessed more with a little injury luck next year, should be better. And then the Bills went to the playoffs last year. So, while the division is getting tougher, don't get me wrong, it's still easier than what it was or what it could be, I guess, in the AFC West when you're going against that machine of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And not to mention, Patriots have 12 picks. I mean, no one dressed better than the Patriots. They have an abundant amount of picks, so they can trade up to get someone, or they can just draft really well. Here's the downside, though. This is, to me, at least, the biggest reason why I don't think Tom Brady, it makes sense for him to go back. They don't have a lot of cap space. They're 18th in the amount of cap space they have. And why is that important? Because last year, I didn't think the reasons for the Patriots' struggles on offense were Tom Brady's fault. The receivers, they rotated in and out. A lot of them were young. A lot of them were hurt, were signed in the middle of the year. You traded for Mohamed Sanu in the middle of the year. The Patriots' offense is based on timing and reads, right? They look at the defense. Tom Brady sees they're playing one sort of defense. The receiver has to see they're playing that same sort of defense, and he cuts one way or another. They have to be on the same page. That was not the case last year. There's a lot of miscommunication where Tom Brady thinks the receiver's running one route, the receiver runs another route. It's a completion, it's an interception, and the offensive line struggled. So there was a lot of negativity towards or on the Patriots offensively last year that we really haven't seen before. And I think that's a product more of the offensive line declining. And again, having so many receivers not being on the same page as Tom Brady, I don't put it as his skills are diminishing. I know he's 43. I still think he has some juice left in the tank. I think he's going to be all right. And this is another thing. This is my final point I want to bring up about the Patriots. No one's really considered this, and I don't know why. This is a huge point. This might be the ultimate sticking point as to why if Tom Brady goes elsewhere, this might be it. For 2 decades, Bill Belichick has made it known and has not been shy about his philosophy of keeping a roster. He would rather keep a player, he'd rather trade a player or cut a player a year too soon than hold on to them a year too late. Meaning he'd rather sell high, knowing that they could have 1 or 2 good years, but then they'll decline in a little bit, rather than hold on to a player and a little too long, have them decline right in front of you, and now all of a sudden they're a liability on the team. I'm not saying Tom Brady is a liability. He's not at that stage yet. But Tom Brady, through many different players, Ty Law, Richard Seymour, we've seen it throughout the years. He is not afraid to trade talent while the market is high, get some sort of return back, and again, he'd rather be burned by giving up talent too early than rather than holding on to it too late. How do we know he's not ready to move on from Tom Brady? I understand Robert Kraft really wants Tom Brady, right? And obviously being the owner, if he wants to, he can force Bill Belichick to sign him and hold on to him. But if this truly is what Robert Kraft is saying, he won't interfere, this truly is Bill Belichick's decision to make. What sense does it make for Bill Belichick to hold on to a 43-year-old quarterback when he can already get moving on to either signing a quarterback on the free agent market, trade for a quarterback, or with those 12 picks, trade up and get someone? Bill Belichick's also not going to change to where he is for years and years and years, traded guys too early. He's not going to all of a sudden change and say, you know what, we're going to keep Tom. I'd rather have him decline here and hurt the team, maybe drag the team down in 2 years, rather than give up, you know what, we'll cut bait now, we'll get restarted on an accelerated rebuild. We have a great defense, and we'll get going from here to try to get another dynasty going. Apparently, when they had talks a few weeks ago, it was not great between Belichick and Brady. I wonder if that's because Belichick really is ready to move on from Tom Brady and doesn't want him back. And the 4th team I have is the Buccaneers. This is interesting because, again, Chris Sims said it's down to 2 teams from sources that he's talked to between the Buccaneers and the Patriots. You had another ESPN, Jeff Darlington, who I almost forgot his name, reported 2 weeks ago that the Buccaneers were one of the 4 teams that were really pursuing Tom Brady. Apparently, Bruce Arians is all in on Tom Brady. It's interesting because you have some stud wide receivers in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, 2 big-time receivers that would be all an upgrade, again, of basically any receiver that Tom Brady's had in his career outside of Randy Moss. You have an athletic tight end in O.J. Howard. So right there you have 2 guys or 2 position groups that are very important to Tom Brady that are already in place. Offensive-minded quarterback, you have Bruce Arians, offensive-minded head coach. Bruce Arians loves to throw. That's perfect for Tom Brady. And the vision, I mean, listen, it's up for grabs. I mean, I know the Saints had a great year last year. Drew Brees is not, I would say, aging on the same track as Tom Brady. I think Drew Brees' decline has been more visible and more obvious than it has for Tom Brady's. So you never know. Maybe this is a year where you can come in, make a few moves, draft right, and all of a sudden you could be right in the NFC South race. Falcons are declining. Panthers are in a complete rebuild. They might, I mean, we knew the Dolphins last year were trying to rebuild. The Panthers might be even worse than the Dolphins, and they might not even try to win a game. New owner, new head coach in Matt Rule. The Panthers are hitting the reset button. I'll be shocked if they play Cam Newton a lot, and I'll be shocked if they try to win games. That division is open. Now, I mean, you look at the downsides. Can Tom Brady really go to Tampa Bay and have them a Super Bowl contender in 2 years? At most. I'm going to say no, right? Their offensive line needs work. Their secondary is one of the worst in all the NFL last year. So there's a lot to make up for, despite having 2 great weapons at the wide receiver position, and then again with a great tight end, and make it worth Tom Brady going there. So that's why I at least have the Bucs 4th and last of the final 4 options. Tom Brady. So Chargers, Raiders, Patriots, and Buccaneers are the 4 teams I think that make the most sense for Tom Brady in that order. And again, we will see. Who knows? By the time we do the show again on Thursday, we could have where Tom Brady signed, and we could all the suspense, all those rumors, all the questions could finally be answered.